Hello class, and welcome to lesson 2. In this video, I want to walk you through several things. First, I'm going to talk about class setup, just how the week is going to go, because we're going to be following that same pattern each week after this. So I'll go over lesson setup first. Then we'll look at the grammar topic. We'll talk about discussion boards. We'll talk about the weekly report, and then we'll talk about the writing assignment. So we'll be going over each of those things. If you need to skip to one of those sections because you have a specific question about it, you can look for the links that I'm going to post at the top of this video, okay? So they should be there. So now we're going to talk about lesson setup. The way that this lesson is set up is there's an introduction section, and each week this will have the questions and conversations discussion board for that week, okay? And I'll be posting an interesting conversation starter there that you can participate in. It will be something kind of silly, just a place for us to chat casually together. You are not required to participate in that, but if you want to go and get to know each other there, feel free to. And you can also, of course, post your questions there about this week's material, okay? And then feel free to answer any questions that you may have experience with. There's also a main page that tells you what the objectives are for that week, so you can look over that briefly. And then this week there are tips for success. Usually this folder will only have the first 2 items, but this week there is tips for success, and I encourage you to look at that because they're all very true. When I looked over it, I was grateful it was here. It talks about how to not expect perfection, basically, that there will be some missed points towards the beginning here, but that's not going to sink your grade, that this is meant to help you see where you can improve and move forward. So there's some really good advice here that I recommend you looking over, okay? So back to our lesson setup. Our next folder is the midweek folder. This means everything in this folder is due Wednesday, 11 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure you translate that to your own time zone. There will always be a grammar lesson reading here, and we'll talk more about that later, as well as paragraph and essay development videos. And these videos are essential. Think about them as your class time. Since we don't meet physically as a class, this is your physical class time. Watch these videos. They will really help to improve your writing almost more than anything else in this course. So don't skimp on those. They're very helpful. Then you have your reading assignments that you get to read, and these are always short essays, so maybe 1 or 2 pages. They're interesting, they're fun, there's some interesting things this week that I think you'll enjoy. So read through those, and these reading assignments are the basis for our class discussion board, okay? So you'll notice here we now have class discussion board instructions and discussion board initial post. You don't really need to worry about this one so much. This one will tell you the prompts that you need to respond to that week, and then you can go to the discussion board here to post that initial post before the Wednesday night deadline, okay? And I'll tell you more about the discussion boards later in this video. Then you will also have your rough draft of your first writing assignment due this Wednesday. Next week, we'll work on revising this paper and turning in a final draft. But for these first 3 weeks, we'll have 1 week where we turn in the rough draft and the next week where we do the final draft. So that should be our schedule for a little while. So notice this is all due Wednesday night. I know that can sound like a lot. So what I would recommend, if this feels overwhelming, is that you wait to read the grammar lesson until after you've completed these other tasks, because the grammar lesson quiz is not due until the end of week deadline, which is Saturday, 11 p.m. Mountain Time. So you could wait to read it until after you've turned in the other things, and then take the fragments quiz, the grammar quiz, whatever it is that week, when you feel ready, okay? So for the end of week deadline, you need to do the grammar quiz. You need to respond to at least 2 other students, I know that in GS 120, your life skills class that you took a little while ago, you were required to respond to 3 other students. But in this class, you just need to respond to 2. But I would encourage you to give a lot of thought to those 2 responses, to encourage analytical conversation, to dig deeper into the papers, okay? So you'll need your response posts by the end of the week. Then you need to fill out an attendance report where you tell me whether or not you made it to your gathering. Then fill out a weekly report and a lesson evaluation. The lesson evaluation is just where you let the course developers know how this lesson went for you. You can give them a lot of valuable feedback on what is working, what isn't, and they can change things to make them better for future students. So I encourage you to fill that out honestly. So that is how each week will be set up, is with the midweek folder, due Wednesday night, a brief gathering preparation that you can read in preparation for your Thursday gathering, and then an end of week folder where everything is due Saturday night. Okay? So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. So let's go ahead and talk about the grammar topic really quick. This week we will be talking about fragments. So if you click here, it will bring you to this page, and there will be 2 short readings. As you can see here, if you bring them up, they're about 2 pages each. They're not very long at all. But this first reading this week, it starts here. You can skip those first few pages of content and introduction. But this first one is about meet the sentence. This is essential for you. If you can understand these parts of speech about nouns and verbs, you will be able to understand the future concepts we work on. But if you can't understand these parts of speech, those future concepts will be a lot more difficult. So if you have any questions about these parts of speech, please let me know. Send me an email, a text, call me, and we can talk about it. And I would be glad to work on it with you or to send extra resources. So read through this carefully. I would, if you're feeling ambitious, I would even encourage you to start memorizing or to print off the subordinating conjunctions, because they will really help you identify your fragments. Most fragments start with a subordinating conjunction and forget to finish themselves. So this can be a really handy table for you to have. So make sure you look at that well. There's also a fragments handout that tells you specifically about fragments now that you understand the basics of the sentence structure. So make sure you read that. You'll watch a video that's helpful, gives you a little more interactive instruction on fragments. And then these are additional resources that you're not required to look at, okay? And like I said, when you feel comfortable, take the fragments quiz. There is a link here to the fragment quiz, or you can just scroll down to the end of week folder, and that quiz link is right there as well. They're the same link, go to the same place, okay? So there's the grammar topic for this week. Now, let's talk about discussion boards. And I encourage you, as you work on the discussion boards, to remember our etiquette rules that I posted last week, where I asked you to post early so other people have someone to reply to. So try not to wait until Wednesday night to post. Try to post earlier on Monday or Tuesday, which means you might want to read those readings first thing so you can post here. Give your peers something to reply to by asking a question whenever possible. So try to ask a question in your post. Let's say that as we're talking about what made Born to Write an effective essay, that you could say, well, I thought the stories made it really effective. Have you ever seen an essay where stories really helped it come alive? So that question would help others to think, have I seen other essays that do the same thing this one does? And they could respond to that question. And then in their own comment, they could say, what do you think? Does this story sound like what Born to Write was doing? And you can have a conversation. So that's what I mean by giving your peers something to respond to. And finally, remember to reply to those who reply to you. So as you make your response here on prompt number 2, check back during the week and see if anyone talked to you, and then talk back and have a conversation. This is the only way that discussion boards are effective. So please be aware of those on the discussion board and be polite. I have done online discussion boards as a student when I attended BYU Idaho, and there was nothing more discouraging than thinking through my own post, putting it up there, and then having no one respond to it, or thinking through a comment that I put on someone else's post, and then that person never responding to me, never acknowledging my thoughts, or taking the time to engage and to think with me about the subjects that we were talking about. So please just be aware. You don't have to put all of your time here, but just check back throughout the week and respond to those who are responding to you, okay? So there's the discussion boards. Briefly, I want to talk about the weekly report, and then we will talk about this week's writing assignment. I apologize that this week's video is a little longer. In the future, the videos should be a little shorter as we get used to how these routines go. So let's see, weekly report is over here. I wanted to show you what the weekly report looks like because this week's weekly report will be very similar to all future weekly reports. And basically what it is you honestly answering how the week went. This is on your honor, so please just be honest. And as you can see, you get to respond to whether or not you met with your speaking partner. Now, I know that a lot of you have not been assigned a speaking partner yet, and that's just fine. I know that it takes a while for them to assign out those speaking partners. So notice that you have an option here of I have signed up to be a speaking partner but have not yet been assigned one. So feel free to select that if that's the true answer, and you will receive full points for that question. And feel free to select any of these others if, for example, if you did not sign up for a speaking partner, you would choose F because you did not sign up, you haven't completed that assignment yet. If you're waiting for an alternate assignment because you're not eligible to be a speaking partner, you would choose this one. So just choose which one is true and don't worry about the points. You'll be given points if you are actively doing something. And then you will respond to whether or not you watched the videos for this week, whether or not you read the readings, if you posted your discussion board posts and responses on time. So this is just an accountability moment for you. Use it as a moment to say, am I prioritizing things? Are there things I can change to better meet these questions? Do I need to rearrange my schedule? So take it as a moment to think as well. And like I said, we will be doing these weekly reports every week, so that's a good thing to be aware of. Okay, now we get to talk about the writing assignment. Yay, the part that this whole class is about. So if you scroll up to midweek, you will see the writing assignment first draft instructions. So if you click here, you will come to this page, and it gives you the directions for your love letter here. The love letter is meant to be a fun assignment. It's just for you to get your creativity going. You write a love letter to an object. So pick something that gets you excited. I've seen papers on cheeseburgers. That one was actually really funny. I've seen one to a bathtub. I've even seen one to morning sickness. That one was a little disturbing at points, but it was really interesting and funny, actually. So write it to anything that you feel strongly emotional about at the moment, about anything. And this is a short assignment. Notice you just need 250 words. That's not that long. And in your word processor, you can tell how long something is. Let me show you. These are some examples of love letters, and all you need to do is highlight the part that you've written, and it should tell you right at the bottom. See right here, 285 of 577 words. So the part I highlighted is 285. So this is even longer than what you need. So you don't need that much. So just Pour your creativity onto the page. Don't worry too much about grammar, about doing this right. Just have fun with it. This week, you're just turning in a rough draft, so you don't need it to be perfect. You also don't need to have the formatting right, because what you do this week is you just submit it as a quiz. Actually, if we go back to our midweek outline, you'll see that it's a quiz, and you just copy and paste your rough draft into it, and all formatting is lost. So don't worry about formatting. That will be next week, and I will give you thorough instructions on how to format it to get full points. Okay? But this week, just be creative, just be fun, make sure it's 250 words at least, and then submit it. As you are working on it, I would encourage you to remember the rubric that's posted down here. I will always grade by the rubric. You can trust me to look at this, to grade fairly. Everyone will be graded on the same rubric, okay? And notice that the first part of the rubric says the essay focuses on one object. So if you're writing to your bathtub, don't get distracted by your kitchen lamp or something. Just focus on the bathtub if that's what you're writing to. So focus on one object and discuss the most significant qualities and expand upon those in the paragraphs. So if you're stuck, think, why? Just ask yourself why on whatever you're writing. Why do I love my bathtub? Well, it's kind of pretty. It's white. It's porcelain. Think of details. Go back to the paragraph and essay development videos of this week, and they will show you all about how to add in detail. So add in lots of detail. That's what that first and most heavily weighted category is asking for. So just get really descriptive and turn it in. And I would encourage you to look at these student examples because they're very fun and they might get your imagination going. So there's the instructions for this week. There's how to approach the love letter. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to post it on the questions and conversations discussion board for this week. Make sure you're in the lesson 2 questions and conversations discussion board. So lesson 2, this here, okay? And we can talk about those answers there, or if your question is more personal, feel free to email it or text it to me or call me and we can figure it out, okay? All right, I'm looking forward to interacting with you over this next week. Thanks for watching.